To study in Nigeria or to study abroad? That is the question. If your answer is yes, I want to study abroad, well, you still have 5 more questions to answer if you're really serious about taking your educational journey out of Nigeria. My name is Isabella Akinseye and welcome to Correct Students. Now, number 1 question is, so you want to study abroad? If you said yes, that means you want to study anywhere but Nigeria. It could be next door, Benin Republic. It could be far away, Wuhan, China. You could even go to the North Pole to study. But once you say yes to studying abroad, it means that you want to go out of Nigeria for your educational studies. So if you've answered the question, so you want to study abroad, the second question I think you really need to ask yourself is, why do I want to study abroad? Why do you want to study abroad? Is it because all your friends are saying they want to study abroad? Or do you think that studying abroad means automatic job? Or do you want to use studying abroad as a way to get papers, to relocate, start a new life? Are you going to study abroad because being abroad gives you the best education for the particular course that you want to do? Your why is so important because it will ground you even as you begin to reflect on the answers to the questions that I'll be posing to you. So let me answer the why. So, why did I want to study abroad? It was a mix. Growing up in Nigeria and spending most of my learning years in Nigeria, I did primary school, I did secondary school in Nigeria, nursery school. I only had a stint of 5th and 6th grade in the United States. Everything else was in Nigeria. So naturally, this question of why do you want to study abroad? And for me, I wanted to go abroad because I watched a movie and it just seemed really cool. Bring it on, all the cheerleading. And I was like, yes, I would love to be there. I have my own dorms and I can do cheerleading. Yes, you will be surprised why people want to study abroad. But the why is so important. Why are you going to study abroad? That's the second question. Now let's move to the third question, which is, what do you want to study abroad? So now you might want to do your first degree abroad. You might want to do your master's, your postdoc. You might want to do your PhD. You might just even want to do just a 1-day course abroad. As a working professional, I've looked at studying abroad for a master's, but I've also considered studying abroad for a presenter's course. So there are a ton of courses that you can actually study abroad. So what do you want to study? Is it a one-time thing or is it a long-term thing? Is it something that you're going to keep going and coming back? It's so important you know what you want to study abroad. You can't just say, yes, I want to study abroad and that's it. Remember the why and now the what do you want to study abroad. So number 4, when do you plan to study abroad? Is it something that you want to do in the future? Like maybe in 10 years time, I want to study abroad. So maybe you're a kid that you're 5 years old and you have an older brother or sister and that sibling has gone abroad. So you just think, yes, when I'm their age, I will go abroad. Or maybe you're a working professional and you're thinking, it won't be bad. After all my children have grown up and I'm just bored sitting down at home, that would be a good time for me to study abroad. So when do you want to study abroad? And you know why that is such an important question to ask? Because at the time of this recording, COVID-19 coronavirus has been declared a pandemic. So it means that your when can also influence a lot of things. Like if you wanted to study abroad next month or next week or in the next 3 months, and the country that you have in mind has decided to shut down schools indefinitely, you see, there's a problem there. So your when is so important. Now let's move to number 5. And this is always a tricky question. Who is sponsoring you to study abroad? Who is bringing out the naira, the kobo, the dollars, the pounds? Living in Nigeria, we've had a lot of issues with currency fluctuation. There are times when the dollar goes so high. There was a time pound was exchanging at over 600 naira. And you can imagine the implications of that. There are people who studied abroad when the dollar was 150 naira. At this point, it's over 400 naira on the black market. So who is sponsoring your study abroad? And for some of us like me, I have a Nigerian passport. If I want to study abroad, I have to get a visa. And the sponsoring of the study abroad is so important because they're going to need evidence to see that the person sponsoring you can really afford for you to have that education so you don't rely on public funds. And depending on the country you're going to, they have strict regulations on being able to take up a job during school. So you might be thinking, okay, I'll go abroad, I'll work my way and I'll be able to pay. If you need that visa, you have to show evidence of being able to sponsor yourself. And then I'll share my example. I studied education with English and drama at the University of Cambridge in England. And the thing is that we didn't have enough time to have jobs, really. You could have the odd job volunteering in the university, which is what I did. I'll help out with open days and I'll get a stipend, something small. But because our terms were so short, we only have 8 weeks in the term, you can't be balancing studies and working. So it was so important that you had that part figured out. So who is sponsoring your education? So important. And then finally, what are you doing to prepare for studying abroad? It's okay to have answered all these questions, but the work still starts and ends with you. Have you written the necessary examinations? So in my case, I actually didn't want to study in England. The first place I wanted to study was Canada because an educational agent did such a great presentation. I applied to Canada, UBC, that's the University of British Columbia. I got in, but I didn't get a scholarship, so I didn't go to Canada. I wrote SATs going to the United States and TOEFL. Again, I passed my SATs, I didn't get a scholarship, so I didn't go to America. Then I wrote JAM, almighty JAM, and I passed my JAM, and I also wrote diploma for University of Lagos. But somehow I ended up in England and I ended up doing my A-levels and I went on to do my first degree at the University of Cambridge. But in essence, what did I do to prepare myself for studying abroad? I didn't just sit down at home and say, yes, I want to study abroad. I had to read up about it. I had to make sure that I had done the necessary examinations. My results had to come out. I also had to apply for the student visa because I have a Nigerian passport. And I had to follow up with the school to make sure things went as planned. Because at some point I had some issues and I did have to come back to Nigeria to regularize my student visa. And trust me, the follow-up between myself and the school went a long way in ensuring that my student visa came out in time. So really ask yourself, what are you doing? And you know what? Maybe after you've reflected on all these questions, you might find out that, do I really want to study abroad? Is studying abroad going to get me the best job? Where do I want to go abroad? Why do I want to do it? And when you begin to reflect, you might even have conversations with your parents, your guardians, with people who have gone abroad, and then you can really answer those questions honestly and truthfully. I really hope that these questions have made you think a little deeper about your decision to study abroad. My name is Isabella Akinseye, and I really hope you've enjoyed this episode of Correct Student. If you have, please hit me up in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts. Have you already gone abroad? Are you currently abroad? Are you considering coming to study in Nigeria? Because for some people who are watching this video, you're abroad and your own abroad is coming to study in Nigeria. So I'd love to really hear from you. And please do connect with us across our social media platforms. Correct Student 1 on Twitter, Correct Student on Facebook and Instagram. And before I leave you, I always want to remind you why we do Correct Student, because our hashtag is our motto, which is always learning. So whether you choose to study abroad, study at home, study in Nigeria, make sure that whatever you do, you try and learn something every day, because we're all students of life. Thank you so much for watching, and I can't wait to come back with yet another episode of Correct Student.